Mēs runājam ne tikai par Latviju, mēs runājam par visu pasauli, uz kuru Ghetto Games ir izdarījis ļoti pozitīvu impulsu un pozitīvu vilni. Un nākamais mūsu runātājs ir no Nīderlandes. Viņu jūs redzēsiet rītdien dejās lielajā laukumā. Un viņš ikdienā dejo un arī strādā ar jauniešiem ar dažādām atkarībām. Tāpēc make some noise for Jordy 7040.
Yeah, first of all, thanks everyone for being here, listening to my story. Obviously, I'll do it in English because, you know, I don't know your language, so I'll try to be as clear as possible for those that are not really that. But yeah, so again, my name is Jordy, born and raised in the Netherlands. I'm 34 years old, about to turn 35 soon, and I have a background in social work. So I work with people with a drugs and alcohol addiction. So I started off with my education in, as a social worker. Before that, I was doing education in like business area, finance area. But I just noticed that there wasn't anything for me. It was just too much numbers, too much about money, too focused about that. So I wanted to do something for the community, and I wanted to help out in a way. At the same time, I was also a bit afraid of like people on the streets. I'm not talking about afraid as in for danger, but more like I thought it was a bit, I don't know, it's just a different world. You know, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, a lot of people on the streets begging for money. And I was like, yeah, you know, I don't know anything about that, but it was still intriguing. It was still like, okay, this is something, someone has like a story to tell. Like they have their own background. So I got really interested. So I was like, okay, you know, instead of being like afraid or disgusted, I was like, let me just ask and see what these people went through, what these people are going through. Obviously, these people don't choose the street life. They never choose it. It's just where they like get into, either from like a bad household, maybe lack of parenting, lack of support, and then, you know, leading into the criminal circuit, and obviously in that circuit, drug, alcohol abuse, substance abuse, whatever it may be. So yeah, I got very interested. I started to do the course, the education. And I was like, okay, with this education, I can either work with people with like a handicap or like with older people, you know, like helping them shower and cleaning their butts. I was like, no, I do not want to do that. This is not something I'm interested in. So I was like, let me just go the street life. Let me just try that and see how that works out. So I did this internship. I started off, it's like a housing facility. It's like a facility where we had 25 people, 25 clients to facilitate basically. And every shift had like two workers, two colleagues. So we were like two social workers with 25 to 30 clients that we had to look over. And obviously, you know, with drug and alcohol abuse, it can get tension. The tension can build up. And it's not only that, it was a group of only men. It's only male group. So a lot of tension would come up. And I was like pretty young at the time. I was, I think, 21 or something. And like leading a group of people with at least 30, 40, 50, sometimes even 60-year-old, and I had to tell them what to do. And I could be their son, for example, and they could have been my dad or something. So that was pretty difficult. So I had to set boundaries. I had to be firm, but I also had to level. So, which means that I shouldn't be acting like I'm above them, because we're not. We're not above these people that have like a worse background than you and me, or a worse financial situation, or struggling with any type of substance abuse. So I had to find that balance. I've always been a very patient person, so I could take my time, breathe, and just relate, try to relate, because obviously I don't come from that life, but this is something that I had to do. So I think at a certain point they I gained their respect, they gained my respect by the way that I profiled myself, by not being above them and just trying to level with them. Where at the same time, like, you know, this is what I look like. Sometimes I work too, without the hat, obviously, but, you know, I got my like streetwear, I got my grill, my chain or whatever. And we also had colleagues that were super corporate, like really strict and really tidy and nice, a bit older as well. And sometimes for them it was difficult to relate to the group because these people come from the streets. I'm not saying that I come from the streets or that I look the part or whatever, but it was easier for them to relate to in a way. So I think I kind of used that in my advantage as well. So I did that. So I worked in that drug facility for, let's say, 6 years, 5 to 6 years, something like that. It was, like I said, it was my first encounter with this group. So everything what I saw there, it was normal to me. So when they fought, when they were having arguments, or even when they tried to sneak in weapons or knives or whatever weapons, that was something I got used to. I was like, okay, this is their life, I guess. But it's not normal, obviously. So after that, I went to a facility strictly for alcohol abuse. So from drug abuse clinic to strictly only alcohol abuse. And the alcohol facility was heavier than the one with the drug abuse. And that's because the drugs, and I'm talking about heroin, crack, cocaine, especially like heroin, it would kind of numb you down. Like it was looking like there were zombies. Like they're very slow and just very, but, and then using cocaine mixed with alcohol, they kind of, and the aggression would come out. But that was that drug facility. So like I said, went to the alcohol facility. I worked there for, I think 2 to 3 years. And that's where a lot of issues came up in terms of aggression. It was a type of facility where they were able to drink inside, because if you picture that, these people are addicted since they were younger, since they were teens. And I was at the time, I think like 26 or something, 28. So from like their teen years until like they're now like 50 something, 60 years old, for like 30, 40 years old, they was in their, struggling with their addiction. So I don't think it was my place to take them out of that addiction. I think for me, and also the vision of the facility, was to help them get back to society with their addiction as well. Because sometimes it's just impossible for someone to get rid of it. So we just help them like tone it down a bit. So instead of drinking 20, 24, 25 beers a day, it will be like maybe 5, for example. So that's the kind of plan that we made for them. So for every single one of them, we had a plan. Okay, now in the morning, they were allowed to drink inside. So they would buy beer, they would buy alcohol, they would bring it to us in the office, and we would have a big fridge, and we would just put it in there with their names on it. So like, okay, John, it's 8 in the morning, so this is the first beer that you may have. The first beer, you can have it at 8 in the morning at my job. The first beer, 8 in the morning, he grabs one, I write it down, he goes off, and an hour later, he was able to get another one. It had to have like 1 hour in between. Some people are allowed to drink 12 beers a day. Some people are allowed to drink 6, some 8. It depends on the person and how much their addiction is. So it was a very difficult system, but it worked. Because it was either that they go outside and drink 30 beers and with their kids around and everything, or they come inside, safe, in their room, drink their beer, under control. So that's kind of what we did. Like I said, I'm a very patient guy. I'm chill, I'm relaxed. I never get into trouble. I never get really angry or like that. But I really made sure that I set my limits, my borders. Because, when somebody's drunk, they're not going to recognize you. Like they want their goal. So someone maybe at 3 in the afternoon, they already had 6 beers and they were allowed no more. And they would come in, yeah, I need my beer now, I want my beer. I'm like, I'm sorry, I cannot give it to you because you already had 6. You need to, tomorrow, it's another day. And they would get mad and they would go outside, they come back, and a lot of arguments started with that. So that's kind of how it built up into becoming more aggressive. And then they would cuss you out. They would call you names. They would want to fight with you. And then it's my job to be like, okay, chill. Let's walk outside. Let's just relax. Let's just, try to level with them. But at a certain point, like imagine if you do this job for like 8 years or longer, at a certain point your patience is becoming low and low and low. It's getting down to zero. I had a lot of patience, and then it became less and less every time. So there were moments where they was trying to get in discussion with me while they were drunk. I need my beer now. I want, or they were trying to bring beer sneaky inside, and I had to take the beer away and put it away, and then they would get aggressive, and then they wanted to fight me. So in the beginning, I was like, chill, let's talk. But after a while, I got more agitated. So I got to a point where I was like, okay, they were trying to get at me every time, and every time is the same story. To a point where I got angry myself. I'm like, if you want to fight, let's go right now. And then I was like, oh, this is not good. This is not, like these people have their problem. They don't want to be angry. They don't want to be aggressive. It's just something that triggers them. So I need to help relate. So that happened a few times. The last big incident that happened was that we always eat together. At 6 in the evening, we eat together with the whole group. Everyone sits on the table. We, the social workers, we grab their plate, we make their plate, we give it to them, and then they eat. But then this guy that came in, he just used cocaine and alcohol at the same time, so he was very aggressive. He came in, he was like, I want rice right now, I want rice. But we had pasta, we made pasta. I'm like, we don't have rice. He's like, no, I want rice now, and he was cussing everybody out. And I'm like, okay, relax, just sit down, I will give you your plate, and then you can chill and eat in your room. And it was a man of 65 years old, or almost 70, and I was like 25, 26 or something, and I had to tell him, go to your room. So he was like very aggressive. Yeah, I want my rice now. And then told him to calm down, chill. And then he was a bit chill, and then again he kept on going. So then I was like, okay, you need to go outside because you're disturbing everyone. And then at a certain point, he was sitting down, and then we came with his plate, we put it down, and then he started cussing again. He started calling people names again. And then he was like, sorry, you really need to get up and need to leave, because this is the 100th time that we said this right now. And he was like, what? Then he grabbed a fork. It was next to him, and he just swing, and he hit my colleague in the wrist. He hit my colleague in the wrist, so then we had to grab him from the back and then just struggle down. And while we was struggling, he was pointing, he was trying to stab my colleague right under his eye. So we bring him down, we bring him outside with legs, and in the arms, we just bring him out. And we call the police, because that's what we always have to do, we have to call the police. And then that happened, and that was a moment of realization for me, like, okay, it was, it's too aggressive for me. Like, these incidents are too much for me. I mean, it's very important that these people keep having support like that. But for me, for my own well-being, and I know that I'm getting aggressive as well, I need to step aside. So that's what I did. I stepped aside, and I started working as a mobile outreach worker, which means that now I have a caseload of people with like autism, so no substance abuse anymore, people with autism, lower IQ, and they have their own studio, so they have their own housing. So now I basically I help them with like getting back into society on like a social standpoint, helping them read difficult letters or get a job, or also maybe looking for hobbies as well, because that was the main thing. I believe that a lot of them didn't have no hobbies. They didn't have nothing to live for. They just wake up, they had no family, or a family that abandoned them because they were so difficult to deal with. So they would wake up, go to the park with their friends and just drink or use drugs. So we had to come up with something creative, like to help them. So the way that I use that is, so I'm a dancer, but I'm also a barber, so I cut hair, and I also make art, so I paint. So stuff like, just some creative stuff. And even though I know these people are like, okay, they're maybe not interested in any of that, in arts or cutting hair, like you would be surprised by how many of them are interested. Like, hey, you know, this is actually something cool. I can do something instead of just chill in the park the whole day. So we try to introduce that. We try to introduce my hobbies, the skills or the hobbies that I have. I try to show it to them. Like, hey, you know, maybe I can cut your hair and then you can see how it works. Or I can cut somebody else's hair and then you can see how that works. And then you could just, like, you know, ask for money. Ask like a €5 or something, like a small money, and just start cutting hair. And like, okay, how does it work? And then boom, I asked my work, can we buy like clippers? Can we buy a set for him, and him? And then we made like a little group. And then so basically we kind of learned them some certain skills and hobbies so that they have something to live for. Same with arts. We just created like a painting area where they could, you know, express themselves and just make some art. So I think that really worked out for them, just to have something. And the ones that I support now are younger as well. They're like maybe young adults, 18, 19, 20, something like that. And especially they look up to people that have something going, or they look up to people that are skilled in certain areas or have some cool things to look at. And that's why I think things like this is very important to have. It's like to support the new generation, the new community. With all these sports. I think sports is not only healthy, like physically, but for sure mentally. I think that's where it starts, like to have something going and to be competitive amongst your friends. So yeah, I think, yeah, like I said, this is very important. I wish you all to keep doing this, keep this going. Such a big event, a lot of different categories, different sports. So yeah, I think that's kind of it. Yeah. So yeah, if you got any questions, anything. Yeah.